So this wasn't an original idea. Like my original idea was going to be a completely different thing to this, but a lot of the circumstances I was going to have changed. So I kind of had to quickly make up a backup just in case, because the other two ideas that I've got aren't like as feasible as this one is, I suppose, in terms of what I could do for it and the time frame I have for it. So it mainly just came from, I use the song as something to tell a storyline rather than making a storyline for the music video. Like the song tells the story rather than the narrative of the story instead. Are you bored? The purpose of this music video is mainly just because I want to try and create something that you wouldn't expect to see in terms of a music. The three things: performance, narrative, or concept, or in some cases, both. However, I wanted to do something where the song told the narrative rather than seeing a narrative. Like I wanted the song to be the main focus with the narrative like following along what the song is trying to say. And I also felt like from my previous unit I learned I could do so much better than what I did. I definitely think that I screwed up an awful lot of what I was trying to do in my previous unit due to a lot of mess ups, including myself being ill and stuff. So I wanted to use this as a do-over for me to create something that I could do with so much more planning, so much more putting into it than I did. The genre of this music video is mainly romance. However, you see a lot of themes of like jealousy and like things that you wouldn't expect in terms of a music, like a song. You focus more on what the genre is itself rather than the emotion that may be in it. The target audience is mainly people aged 14 to 20 that would be interested in listening to something like this, or interested in listening to the artist itself, or feel like they understand what she's trying to say and what she's written. So in terms, pros of this is I've already got someone to play for me if I need it. I have a partner for the performance, so like it'd be me and someone else. I'm able to get to the locations I need to in terms of where I'd be able to get. I've given myself enough time to be able to reshoot, and I have access to everything I may need. The cons of it is mainly trying to juggle being the performer and doing the filming itself, which is one thing I learned is definitely a very difficult task to do when I tried to do it in my previous thing. But I think now that I've started to slowly understand it, I might be able to do it slightly better. Trying to get all the equipment to the location might be difficult, but one thing in terms of planning I might do is planning around what location I could use and what equipment I could use on that day, as to not taking too much with me. And a lot of my filming has to be done outside of college, so getting the support I may need for some of the filming is not going to be so easy. The idea is definitely more feasible than the other two I've come up with. I don't know why I did this at this point. My second idea was to create a more narrative-based music video where the narrative that fits the song instead, where it's basically focusing more on a perspective of two people in a relationship where it's fallen and it's gone. Like it's broken apart, but they don't want to let it go. So we see a lot more of a narrative in this one. The purpose of it I wanted to create something that would appear much more interesting. Again, is another thing that I want to be able to improve a lot on my Unit 6, because I feel, again, I didn't do what I could. The genre of the music video, we can't tell exactly what it might be, but we see themes of heartbreak and maybe the effects of being cheated on, as it seems to be. That's the one thing that seems to be focused on at the start of the song. The target audience is mainly people aged 16 to 25 who would be interested in this sort of genre of music or this sort of song, or would be interested in listening to the artists. Again, pros is basically similar to my previous idea. However, a lot more of my cons similar, but trying to do a narrative is definitely a very difficult thing to include in a music video, especially trying to juggle both showing the narrative and making the actual performance. It is feasible, but I don't think it's as feasible as my other ideas.
What is the main thing that makes it less feasible?
I think the narrative is the main thing that changes the feasibility of both this one and my Exile one, because a narrative is definitely something that trying to put performance and a narrative in and make them both clear from seeing our previous unit, it's definitely something that's very difficult to do and sometimes, in some cases, not achievable at all. So I definitely think that's what makes it less achievable with, whereas my first idea is more you follow the song, so it's basically you see the song go through and it's more of a basic flow than it is see a proper narrative. This idea is somewhat similar, however, to my previous idea, but it's more we see someone who feels like they can't stop making mistakes, like something's, like some part of them's gone. The purpose of it is basically the same as my previous idea. There's no basic changes in most of these. This one is basically the same as my other one in terms of pros, cons, purpose, all that. It's still fairly not as feasible as my other ones. I definitely think overall this is a better idea for me to do as a whole. These three are the music videos that I feel like I could deconstruct. They do play. It's annoying.
Are they by different artists?
Yeah, this I've chosen to deconstruct this one simply because this is the artist I've chosen for the song. So I felt like focusing on how she films her music videos, what she includes, how what style she sort of does it in, could help me to see if there's any elements that maybe I could take from her and maybe include it in my own. This one isn't an official music video. It's a music video that's made completely separate, using a song that exists. However, I've chosen to deconstruct this, regardless of whether or not it's an official song, because the shots in it are some things that I do want to borrow, and I want to see how they film it, what sorts of things that I could maybe include if I decided which ones I wanted to include. Like the one in the corner there, with them on the field, is something I want to do. So I feel like maybe focusing a lot more on how they've done that could definitely help me. This one I've chosen to deconstruct solely because this isn't what you'd expect from a typical music video. They include loads of elements that aren't specifically what you'd expect from even a romance music video, for an example. And I thought it would be quite a good one for me to focus on